Welcome to Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere with your host, Chris Parker.
Well, hello, this is Chris Parker back, and I have an amazing guest that I've known for quite some time, Graeme Newell. Graeme has been kind enough even to come over to the Netherlands, where I'm at, to present at events and stand in front of customer experience leader conferences. His company, 602 Communications, is in the, I think what used to be called the neuro marketing, but sort of the brain marketing. But I'll let you tell more about that. Welcome, Graeme. Delighted to have you here.
Chris, so good to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I love the purpose of what you're doing here, and I think those opportunities for all of us to do our craft better, to be able to work better, that's a pretty exciting thing and something we all need now, particularly in this time of COVID.
Well, thank you for being here. So Graeme, can you tell us a little bit about, and I know it's a stacked question, but who are you, what do you do, and maybe most importantly, why do you do what you do?
Sure. Well, I'm a neuromarketing expert, and what I do is I help people to make better decisions. My thing is all about peeking inside their brain right as they're making those really critical decisions. So, for all of us, all of our opportunities to make those decisions were honed out on the African savanna over the last few million years, and they were basically just about survival is what they were about. Well, we've only been civilized for about 10,000 years, and we think that we're making these incredibly conscious decisions, but what we know is we're really doing it more from our gut. So what I am really passionate about is making those decisions in a way that's measured, that not trusting your gut thing, and working to make decisions on the data that are really going to be better. Because right now, what we know is our decision-making process tends to come from our instinct, and oftentimes that's been optimized for simply survival, and we've got to up our game to get more civilized.
Yeah, well, that was sort of the face I made a little bit. It's like, I'm not sure if we're really that civilized, actually. So it's, I think maybe some of it is. But, and what motivates you? Why is this meaningful to you? Why are you?
It's so meaningful, Chris, because I don't know if you've seen this in your life, but have you ever made those decisions where you kind of look back and you kind of go, what was I thinking? How did I ever do that? And, I've had those experiences in my life as well. And we've all been at business meetings and stuff where everybody in the room goes, what is he doing? How can he do this? And, it seems as though we all go a little bit crazy sometimes when we make these decisions. Now, we can see it in hindsight, but we can't see it on the front end. So what really makes me passionate about this is making better decisions in my own life, but to truly understand what that process is about, so that all of us, whether it's our jobs or our kids or our leisure time or whatever it is, we can make better decisions on this. And I'm just fascinated by the psychology of it.
Yeah, I think your decision making is because there's different parts of the brain and of course in different contexts. I've heard, maybe you know better about it, like when you're stressed, that actually, chemically, and I think oxygen levels go down, and your IQ can even go down up to 10 points in periods of stress and chronic stress. And of course, that's going to impact your decision making. So it's the whole, context around that. So how, in your business, how do you help businesses make decisions based on neuromarketing? Can you just paint that picture a little bit for me?
Sure. And the audience? I've spent years and years and years taking people, we throw them inside of an fMRI or we put EEG headsets on them, and then we ask them to make critical decisions, and we can watch their brain as they do it. And what we can clearly see is that we'll ask them something like, "Hey, we'd like you to decide on whether you want to do A or B," and they'll go, "Oh, definitely A is what I want." And then we can look at their brain scan and kind of go, "Wow, you really want to do B," and you're kidding yourself into thinking that you want to do A. So what we have a tendency to do is we have a tendency to make decisions based on what we feel our best self should do. We all have this image of ourself that we believe, we're this good father or a great businessman or we're cool under pressure or whatever it is. And we tend to make decisions where we will listen to those things of what we want to be as opposed to who we are. And so what I love is that this technology kind of gets down to, you're freaked out right now and you don't even realize it, and we can see that in your brain.
Yeah, it's it reminds me a little bit of, I think it's Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, if you know that. So, it's
a great book. Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky really took this whole idea of behavioral economics and behavioral finance and took it really to the next level. They showed that all of us make decisions based on our instinct. We thought it was reason before, but what they were able to show very clearly over a lifetime of work is that all of us are just big balls of instinct walking around. And we make decisions based on survival, not necessarily what's best for us.
So is your premise to become more rational or become more in tune with your instinct, or both?
I am definitely to become more rational. There's a lot of people that are kind of like, I just trust my gut. I just know, what's going on in here. And I sometimes the data tries to distract me. I'm the exact opposite. Listen to the data. The data will usually do a better job of deciding than you will. And, after sticking people in brain scanners for years and years and asking them to make these decisions, the decisions that we make when we get under pressure or stress are crazy bad. Just terrible, particularly now during COVID times. Like, one of the things that's happening right now is a lot of people have seen their portfolios go down or seen their businesses fall. And the knee-jerk reaction is to do something, is what it is. And that's the fight or flight response, because that kept us alive out on the African savannah. You either ran away or you fought, is what you did when that threat happened. Well, maybe the best thing to do is nothing. But what you got to realize is your subconscious brain is going to fight you on that every step of the way. And so you've got to take over that instinct and go, I've got to stick to my plan, is what I've got to do. And that's what a lot of people lose when they get frightened.
They say, they start bolting in front of fast-moving cars like animals and things. It's something I've been working on is, and it might be contradictory to your, is call it mindfulness. I've been focusing on some meditation, every morning and things like that, and really just to calm my brain, calm my system in order before I get into the day and decide what to do. So maybe that's my way of getting more rational. It's just calming.
That sounds wonderful. Now, what does that give you? How does that work for you?
Well, it's COVID time, and it's uncertain. In our, I shared with you before we started that, 4 people in our social surroundings have passed away from the virus. So there's this threats out there, financially, the macroeconomic situations, you can't just ignore that, I don't think, because it's there. And so what I've been doing is really, focusing on getting sleep. There's all the basic stuff that I knew I should have done, and COVID has given me the motivation to do it. Get sleep, don't screen before you sleep. When I wake up, I'm doing this intermittent fasting thing, just trying to cleanse my body. I really try before I even do my daily to-do list to do a 25-minute guided meditation.
Good for you.
And I don't say it gives me any answers, but it does let me get in tune with something. I believe that if something really doesn't feel good, it won't end well. But if something doesn't feel good, then you can start looking at the data. And maybe this is where it connects back. And it's like, well, something's off about this. I have this itch, and so let me go back and maybe review my assumptions, review the data. So that's, I know. But are you, is that part of your story, or are you just purely a data levels all arguments guy?
I'm a firm believer that you got to calm down that monkey brain, particularly during these times of fear, in order for the right decision to avail itself. So I think what you're doing is amazingly great, particularly doing it in the morning. It gives you that opportunity to begin the day when you're fresh, when you're ready to make those decisions at a time that is going to allow your brain to bring that data in and to really be able to do something that's going to be effective. It's so easy for us to get off track. We get scared and we start doing crazy things.
And combine it with some other tools like Trello and Kanban boards. So I know that everything I need to do is out there, is registered somewhere, and then I don't have to worry about it when I'm having breakfast or getting the boys ready for school, and do my meditation, and then I'm off, and then the productivity is great. So it's lovely. So you have mentioned that you before, so I know a bit about your business, that you're shifting even industries and going much more into financial services. So I'm curious, how do you maintain focus on the right industry or customer, persona, or even product that you're putting out there, because of course everything's changing. And you seem to be very deliberate, and I've always been impressed with that about you. Very deliberate about what you're working on. How do you do that?
I made a change over the last little while, going from the media sector to the financial services sector. And what I looked for was a very specific list of things. First of all, I was looking for something that I was passionate about. And I'm very passionate about financial literacy. I truly believe that you can change people's lives by teaching them simple money skills, simple ways to save, to avoid spending, that can change lives, that can put kids through college and allow people to retire. So I'm very passionate about that. I was also looking for somebody who had a big problem. And that's what I tend to do, is I don't go after what the industry is. I look for the industry that has the biggest problems. And right now, there's huge problems in this industry. And then finally, what I look for is people who have the money to pay me.
That's important as well.
I'm going to go into a sector where they're going to have the resources and the meetings and they're going to be able to afford it. And then I look for those three. But what I try to do is follow the problem. Don't follow what I do. Follow the pain that my customers are having.
And how do you help these financial services organizations with the problem? So what do you bring to them, or what is the transformation that you provide?
What I really bring to them is a set of tools that helps them to make smarter decisions. So whether you're a CFO, whether you're in financial service or whatever it is, we usually make money decisions with our gut. I show them and teach them that that's the wrong way to do it. That the way that you've got to do it is to come back to the data. And most importantly, how to recognize when a bad decision might be becoming. I teach them to recognize behaviors that go, you're about to make a bad decision because here's what you're doing. And that helps them to, as you said during your meditation, to recenter and to come back and make decisions that are smarter based on data.
Yeah, it's good. And I'm a bit pessimistic, being in financial services for most of my life, that sometimes I find the margins are so good that actually the penalty for bad decisions isn't severe enough sometimes, because they have customers that are stuck. Oftentimes their data is crap. They don't trust it anyways, and so they like, oh, my data's bad, so we have to do something else. So it's I think that's hugely valuable, because particularly now when customers are having more and more options in financial services, Facebook has just announced they're doing payments in Brazil. So Facebook Bank, I'm sure, is coming sometime soon. And the legacy, financial services need to wake up and do something. So.
Yeah. And Chris, what it's about is really making a plan and then working your plan, sticking to the plan that you make. So you need to plan before you begin. Okay, when things go crazy, when things go south on me, here's what I would do. And you need to think those through before you get into the middle of it, because once you get into the middle of it, you're crazy and you're going to make bad decisions. So it's looking at the upside, the downside, if it works and if it doesn't work. Most of us have this predilection where we get this plan and we just assume it's going to work. It's absolutely going to work. You look at businesses and we kind of go, I'm going to start a business and it's absolutely going to work. Well, what we know is that probably 9 out of 10 businesses don't work. And so have you planned for when it doesn't work, here's what I'm going to do, and then sticking to that plan. And
I guess also knowing when to change the plan. When the data says, hey, the assumptions you made have changed or have been proven false.
Correct. But and what exactly is that paradigm for you? What do you say? This is when I'm going to evaluate it, and when I see this, I'm out, and do that before the crisis.
Yeah, I think it was Taiwan that I heard about as a nation who, based on the SARS or whatever, they were prepared. They had the face masks and everything. So when this came, they just said, yeah, okay, plan 4, implement, and off they go. So it's, I wish maybe the rest of humanity will be more prepared next time. So coming back to your business, unless you wanted to add something?
No, it's good.
Yeah, coming back to your business, you have made a deliberate plan to change industries and financial services are not known for quick decision making or adopting new paradigms easily. So I'm just curious, how do you go about growing that business? Into a, your background, I think, is more in media, and that's a little different than financial services and banking. How does one enter a new industry like that? What's the plan?
What I did, Chris, is I looked back to what I had some experience on. So in the media world, I had done hundreds and hundreds of studies that looked at this brain science,
right.
and we were applying it to advertising and marketing. And what I knew was it was just a tiny turn for me to move it into making financial decisions as opposed to making advertising decisions. And so I had a lot of experience in this, and it ended up working out really well to do that. And that's what I recommend from all folks. If you've got to change sectors or move to something, take that skill that you already have and then do research to find out specifically how that can apply to the other sectors. Now, what that's about is reaching out to a lot of people. Again, what I looked for was a problem. And I reached out to people that were in financial services and basically said, tell me the most bleeding, horrible, terrible problem that your industry has that's costing you millions of dollars. And I probably interviewed 100 people is what I did. And by the time I got done, I clearly knew exactly where to go. But what I do is follow the fear, follow the worry. That's where the opportunity is.
And how few people actually do that sort of customer validation up front. So it's brilliant. So, looking at, and I'm hoping you'll be able to share, at least with the video part of the audience of this, and keep in mind that there's an audio only podcast. So I would love it if you show and walk through very quick, because I'm just jealous watching you right now. Your screen is clear. Your face is well lit. Your white background is brilliant. I'm looking pretty damn shabby here right now. So can you in order to deliver your value, your Graeme magic at a distance, what's that infrastructure look like?
Well, let me talk a little bit about what I have here. So the good news is that these online training tools that we have, things like Zoom, have really gotten substantially better now. What's neat is now we can create a much more personal training experience than we ever had before. So what I did was I started with the best meeting technology in the business, and it's this Zoom conferencing software here. So this gives us the great meeting planning. We can do things like picture-in-a-picture and get all the traditional security that these platforms can offer. But if you've done a lot of meetings, what you know is most of them tend to look like this. It's just a bunch of yakking heads, and it's just going to be dull as can be. So what I did is I looked to the world of live streaming. These are the systems that power rock concerts on Instagram and Facebook Live. So this allows us to do the full production capacity, and we can make the experience more exciting. So I've got a full streaming studio that I use in order to bring people in. So I've got a Final Cut Pro suite here. I've got PowerPoints that I can do, a teleprompter that I can bring up. So what's neat is that during these times of COVID, I can put together a presentation that's not just somebody yakking. And when you combine the live streaming tech with the webinar tech, what you can create is an online experience that's incredibly personal, yet it really has these engaging production values. So the studio has really enabled me to reach out to people in entirely new ways. And I think this is what's going to be so amazing now. I've been working on this for many years, but the online connection is going to get way good in the next few years. And I think it's an amazing opportunity for people to bring in business from all over the world. I've got conferences today that are going to be in Singapore. I'm talking to you, in Europe. I've got other meetings today all over the place. So this is a great opportunity for all of us to step into something that's going to really get great production values that allow you to connect over video.
And I have benefited greatly from some of the stuff you put online, Facebook Live about your video setup and things like that. So I'd love. Is that linkable? Is there a link we can provide people to go back to watch that?
There is. I'll get you that link of. I did a little studio tour of all the things that I'm doing. It was a lot of fun. Really was.
Yeah, absolutely. So super cool. So Graeme, so you have been working on this. Clearly passionately, so we had a quick peek just now at your whole setup for couple of years. I think if I remember right, you moved to Oregon probably 4 or 5 years ago, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then and you've been building out that ever since then. So, the question I have is what keeps you going? With yourself. How do you keep your mindset in the right place and motivated to keep improving? Because it seems like every time I talk to you, you've upped your game somehow. It's incredible. So, how do you do that?
The big thing for me is, as you can imagine, I'm a pretty data-driven guy. I've kind of built my trainings around that. So I really have a terrible memory, and I really am incredibly scattered. And so early in my career, I moved to software to help me to keep my life in order. So I am a huge advocate of customer relationship management databases.
Yeah.
CRM, things like Salesforce and things like that. They allow me to have this incredible repository of everybody that I know, all the notes, everything is all in there. And it really allows me to sleep at night. So I can put all my notes, all my appointments, all my tasks, everything that I'm going to do in this one place, and then I can go to bed. And I can go to sleep because I know tomorrow that list is going to be there. So a lot of people are using, very simple things on Google or things like that. I upped my game and decided that a full customer relationship management software system was what I really wanted to use. And it's allowed me to communicate with other people, to work virtually, and it's just allowed me the peace of mind to relax.
Beautiful. And I know the technology doesn't matter, but I am curious. What do you use? Like, what does your tech stack look like?
I use a program called Daylight, Daylite,
Okay.
and it basically is Mac specialized. So it's custom made for people that use Macs.
Yeah. Okay. Why did you choose that? I'm curious. What was the...
Basically, I'm deep into the Mac infrastructure, and it integrates so well with all the other Macintosh programs. It really does. If you're not a Mac I really love Daylight, and I think it works great for your Mac. But if you're not, then what I would do is go with Salesforce. The opportunity that you have to integrate with the whole world in Salesforce is pretty incredible.
Yeah. No. Cool. And how about your... I'm just curious, picking your brain, because you've solved so many problems ahead of me. Like to-do lists and task lists. Do you do that in Daylight as well? Is it?
All of that is in there. Calendar, to-do list, notes. So I've got around 11,000 notes that I have put in there over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. Anytime something comes to my brain, I don't keep it in my head. I put on dictation software. So basically, I can either dictate it into my phone, or I can just grab a headset and kind of go, "Here's my idea," and then I just dictate it, and I talk and talk and talk as fast as I can, and then bam, it goes into Daylight. I give it a tag, and then I can find it.
Cool. And if you're someone who hasn't even thought of this before, because I think there's a lot of entrepreneurial people out there who are still doing things on paper pads or whatever. What's the mindset to start with all that? Because you have a sense of discipline that I find very rare. Because a lot of people that I know have these systems implemented, but they just never use them. And then if you don't use it, if you don't have the discipline and the structure, it just won't add the value. So do you have any, where do you start in actually creating value with it?
The number one thing that I would recommend is that you get into dictation software.
Okay.
One of the things that I think is really key, and whether you're sending yourself an email or whatever it is, the very fact that you say it makes you process it, as opposed to just thinking it. When I have to say it, it actually becomes real. I tend to develop it more. But basically, even your Android phone or your iPhone, it's got a dictation feature. Just pull up an email, press the button, and just go, "Here's what I'm thinking." Yeah. And by doing that, it's going to help you to crystallize your own ideas. It's a great first step. It's easy to do. And the big thing is, all those great ideas, you won't lose them. You'll have them. You can go, "I remember 6 months ago," and you can just kind of check your email and kind of go, "I remember 6 months ago I was talking about wombats. What was that?" And then I can just bring it back up by searching the word wombat.
And there you go. A slightly different use of that from a writing coach told me before a product is final, read it out loud, 2 or 3 times, because it's the act of reading it out loud is a completely different experience than just thinking of it and looking on the paper. So I guess it works. I guess it works works both ways. So,
Yeah.
because you're very much a video guy, is that your sort of your channel of choice? Are you writing a lot, or are you? Because I don't think
I'm a big video blogger, so I do using this this production setup that I have here. I've got cameras and stuff that I can use basically, and so I can write something. What I do is I write something in PowerPoint is what I do. Then I play the PowerPoint here, and then I just put the notes right in the teleprompter.
Yeah.
And so I do a tremendous amount of video blogging is what I do.
Yeah.
And what's neat is in that Twitter feed or whatever, it's not just a picture, it's me coming up live, rolling, and that's what's neat.
And well, you have written in the past, because I have this book here called Red Goldfish, which I think is brilliant. One of the points that for the people that, this is Red Goldfish, motivating sales and loyalty through the shared passion and purpose. And I think purpose-driven strategy, purpose-driven organizations it's so relevant now, different during the COVID time, and why do these companies exist? And so Red Goldfish, I highly recommend. And what I really like about it is it is the purpose in here is so many of the purpose statements of companies that I love. Like there's Southwest Airlines, to connect people to what's important in their lives through friendly, reliable, and low-cost air travel. And they do that. And I love Southwest. I'm so sad they don't exist in Europe. So how did this come about? And is this related to your current work at all, or can you make a connection there for people? I'll put the link.
It absolutely is,
Yeah.
because these are about these decisions that we make about what are going to be the central focus of our business. And typically what we tend to do is we tend to look at our own needs. We kind of say, well, what's your business all about? Well, I want high sales, or I want to have great customer service. Well, that's what you do. It's not what your product does to fulfill your customers' lives. So I've spent a lot of time over the years helping people make these kind of big decisions like this. And when Stan and I got together to work on this book, what we found is that everyone was pretty self-obsessed, and they had not taken that next leap to move into something that really got down to that gut level core values that are at the essence of who we are. I'm big into this instinctual, decisions that we make, and I know that most of our decisions come from there. Well, when you give those things to people that are about helping their family or helping them to prosper or things like that, those are things that don't just satisfy your conscious brain. They also celebrate, and they help your heart to really make that decision, because they're so true to the core of human existence. So this gets back to a lot of the brain research that I've done. You take something like a little kid and put them on screen, everybody's brain lights up, because we're hardwired for those values to look after our families. Companies that can tap into those core motivations of the reason why we are on this planet, those are the ones that do well.
The reason I'm sort of grinning to myself is I think you've maybe have chosen the most difficult industry then to focus on. If you're looking for the self-obsessed, I think the definition of that is financial services. So there's such opportunity and such, there's problem statements there. So I love it. So all my banking, financial services, leasing, credit, factoring friends that are watching this, there is hope. Paul Graeme, read the book.
All of us, no matter what industry we're in, have powerfully driven core emotional drivers of love of family, of wanting to be safe. Those are things that drive all of us, regardless of the sector that you're in. And a lot of times we think in financial services that people are these cold reasoning machines. They're not. And that's where they tend to get off track, is assuming that they are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Amen. So it's don't assume that they are cold reasoning machines. These are real humans with real emotions, real memories, and interact with them, treat them accordingly. So amen. So is there anything else or any other way people can get in touch with you?
Sure. You can reach me at graemenewell.com, and the Graeme is spelled a little bit differently. It's Graeme Newell.com. And there I've got a whole bunch of videos on decision making, on, all great videos that folks can just take, a great place to do some learning.
Beautiful. I'll put that in the notes. So Graeme, thank you so much.
Learn more at ebullient.com/podcast.